Hi friends, I'm Karen and this is the Family Food for Moms podcast. We're talking about inspiration for family cooking and dining. In this episode, we're going to talk a bit more about the food go bag and the best ways to go about using the list. And then we're going to talk about some easy meals that can be made when you have a few supplies, more than the minimum, but still not many and perhaps no power, or you may have a generator. So I'm going to give you some ideas for those. So first I want to talk more about the food go bag. You may have downloaded the printable with the lists of items that you can choose or add your own, and then plan your meals for your go bag. So you can find that on familyfoodformoms.com/foodgobag, one word. So it's important to know that all the items on the list are not meant to be packed into your food go bag. You need to choose to have enough supplies for 2 or 3 days. That's what we're aiming for. So you want to have enough food for 2 breakfasts or 3 breakfasts. You decide how many, 2 or 3 days, or if you want to do more days, that's fine. But obviously you're going to need to carry whatever you pack. So say you have 2 to 3 days of breakfasts, lunches, snacks, dinners, and perhaps desserts. Always good for cheering you up when things are hard, and also needed for extra energy, an extra boost if you're staying up late trying to figure things out. So once you've decided how many meals you need, then you can go about planning them. So the lists are arranged so that you can tick off what you want to take and then add how many of each thing you need, and decide what meals you're going to make. For example, you could add oats plus long life milk plus cinnamon, salt for oatmeal, plus some nut butter, anything that you can choose that's non-perishable that will do for your first breakfast. And then depending on the number of people in your family, perhaps if you need coconut cream for something, you can choose to have 1 or 2 tins. And then it's a good idea to pack your go bag into something that's easily portable or easily carryable, and to maybe spread the load between family members. So if you have 2 strong male teenagers and mom and dad, maybe you can have 4 packs, or maybe if mom needs to look after the little ones, then make it 3 packs. So you distribute your meals between the packs. It's probably a good idea to pack everything for 1 meal into a pack, and then everything for the next meal into another pack, or everything for 1 day perhaps into 1 pack. I like to use those picnic backpacks that have got space for the food that's nicely lined to keep it cooler. There's space for the plates and the knives and forks and the cups, etc. Or you could just use an ordinary backpack and put a bit of padding in if necessary. But it's great to have those ready to go that can be carried by any of the family members. Or if you're going in your car, then cool boxes would be fine, or whatever you feel would work for your situation. But the main thing is we don't want to have this huge, big, heavy box that's just all jumbled up and that we don't know what we're going to use from it. We want to organize things both in the meal plan and in the actual supplies per meal and then per day. So if you have access to more than just the very basic things in the go bag, like we talked about last week, it's great to just have a few more options for easy meals. If you have access to things like eggs, more dairy, fresh dairy, cheese, meat, that opens up a whole lot more possibilities for meals. Obviously, the meat is a great one. You can do burgers on the grill, you can do ribs, you can do hot dogs, you can do a stew, a beef stew, in either a generator and a crock pot, or on a fire or a hot plate, just on a low heat. So that opens up a lot more options. And then the eggs obviously are useful for breakfasts, for omelets, for fried eggs, for egg fried rice, to use in pancakes. And then the pastas would be even yummier using fresh dairy and possibly egg or whatever other options you have. Then bread also makes it easier to do quick sandwich meals. Perhaps some sliced deli meat helps as well for quick options. So those things make it a lot easier. So let's talk about a few more specific meals that you could make. So a very easy, economical meal to make in a pot or a pan would be a chicken noodle stir fry. So all you would need for this would be chicken breasts, some pre-cut vegetables, julienne or stir fry vegetables, and some rice noodles. It's also gluten-free, so it works for everyone. So then you would just chop up the chicken breasts small and use some coconut oil to fry them up. Add some salt and a little soy sauce. If you happen to have sesame seeds, those are great. Then you put the chicken to one side and you would fry up the vegetables, the stir-fry veg, again with a little salt and soy sauce, or we use tamari. And then the noodles, you just pour boiling water over them in a bowl or in a pot for a few minutes until they're soft. And then you drain them and you add some salt and soy sauce, not too much. So each element has a little soy sauce in. Then you mix them all together in the pan if you have space, if it's a wok type pan. Otherwise, everyone can dish up their own parts. So you just mix up the chicken, the veg, and the noodles, and it makes for a delicious, healthy meal. Another easy meal in a single pot or pan would be a spaghetti bolognese. So for that, you would just need your ground beef, your mince, and your spaghetti. So then you would cook up the mince, browning it and adding salt and herbs and perhaps onion powder, and then some tomato puree and chopped tomatoes with onion, anything like that from a tin that adds to the flavor, perhaps a bit of tomato paste, a little bit of soy sauce. You cook up your mince, add some water and leave it until it's nicely thickened. And then, so that would be just at a medium heat, a low simmer, until it's nice and rich, deep flavor. And then you can add a little extra water if it needs it. It may not need it. And then simply put your spaghetti into the cooking mince, and within a few minutes it will be nice and soft, ready to eat. You can grate some cheese or some parmesan to put on top. It makes a great one-pot meal. Another great option if you have access to a grill, or these things have actually been known to work in a frying pan as well in a push. And that is some form of pizza. So if you don't have access to real pizza bases, you can use tortillas or you can use English muffins and then add a little tomato paste on top, some herbs and salt, and then add your veggies or your pieces of cold meat or anything you like on top, and then your cheese, and grill those or put those in the frying pan until the cheese melts. You can also do something similar with soups. If you have canned soup, tomato soup, you can do grilled cheese on your grill, or you can even do grilled cheese in the frying pan with a bit of patience. Just grill on the one side and then turn them over, and by then the cheese should have melted. Then if you do have access to a crock pot and a generator, you can quite easily do some meals as well, which helps because then you don't have to stand and cook. You can just let it cook on its own. So dump some chicken breasts in the crock pot and cover them with a jar of cheese sauce or marinara sauce, pasta sauce, and then just let that cook. You can even add a little rice and that will cook as well with a bit of liquid. So also a stew in a crock pot is pretty easy. Get some stewing meat, stewing lamb or beef, and then add that to the crock pot with some salt, some rosemary, thyme, pepper, and then add some carrots chopped up, perhaps potatoes chopped up, and then some broth, beef broth, vegetable broth, and a little water. You don't need to cover the stew. You just put an inch or two of water at the bottom, and then cover the crock pot, and it will cook till tender. Usually 4 hours on high is good, or if you do the first hour on high and then maybe 4 hours on low, you may need 5 hours. You can test it and see how it works. Another easy option for the crock pot is a whole chicken or a leg of lamb or even a beef piece of brisket. Those are lovely. I find the beef doesn't get quite as tender in the crock pot as the others, but the chicken and the lamb work beautifully. Just 4 hours on high and they're good to go. The lamb I would actually do on low most of the time, but I do like to start on high so that the crock pot comes up to temperature. So again, an hour on high and then 4 to 5 hours on low for a leg of lamb. And then those are great. Once they're ready, you can just eat them. And if you'd like to, you can put some carrots and potatoes in around the roast, and it's quick and easy. Then they're all done at the same time. You could also make a great chili in a one-pot meal, either using some ground beef plus beans and lentils, or making it vegetarian with just beans and lentils, and then adding your veg and your chili sauce, perhaps a can of tomato chili sauce. So you would cook the meat up first, add a bit of seasoning, and then add your tinned beans, tinned lentils, perhaps tinned vegetables, and then your spices. Also, pastas work well in a one pot. I did mention the spaghetti bolognese. A similar thing that people sometimes do is kind of a lasagna soup. So you would still make the ground meats, the ground mince, and then when you've added your sauces and it's kind of ready, then you tear up the lasagna strips and just add them to the pot, and then you would add a bit more water, add some cheese, and it's all kind of lasagna in a one pot dish. Also, you could add any kind of pasta, cook up the pasta in the pot, drain it, and then add your protein, your veggies, some olive oil or some cream sauce. Those are great. If you wanted to do nachos or taco fillings, you could also use your ground beef and then just add yogurt or fresh avocado, make some guacamole. Perhaps you have some salsa, some cheese, some yogurt, sour cream, anything that goes well with that in your tacos or on your nachos. You can also use shredded chicken breast that you've cooked in the crock pot, or shredded brisket, and put those inside tortillas or tacos, or again on nachos. I'm sure you're a lot more creative than me, so I hope you have fun thinking of good meals to do in that situation where things are not as easy as usual, where there's less time, less resources, perhaps no power. It's also helpful to have some barbecue sauce available. You can put that onto sausages if you're going to be grilling, or you can put that on the chicken breasts. You can put that on the shredded meats to go in the tacos. There's lots of ways that would help. And then some lemons are always great too, to squeeze on fish or chicken, to squeeze on anything that you're cooking that you want that added flavor. The last meal I'm going to talk about is one of our favorites. I'm sure there's many, many other meals that you could use in this kind of situation. I really love the one-pot meals because they're so much easier when things are difficult and there's not a lot of washing up afterwards. So this one is a fish chowder. So you can use your favorite fish. So you would start with the base that has to get ready in the pot. So you can chop some onion, give that a little stir fry, add a little bit of garlic, and then you add some broth as your liquid with water till it's kind of halfway up the pot. You let that cook for a little bit. Then you add some corn. So tinned corn is great. I add some plain tinned corn, which I drain, but then also some creamed corn or cream-style corn makes it fabulous. So we'd add about 3 tins of corn, maybe 2 cream-style and 1 ordinary corn. Then once that's cooking, we want to add the fish. So you season the fish before you add it. You don't have to cook it first, but you season with some good salt, pepper, onion powder, paprika, maybe some thyme, whatever you like to do with your fish. And then you put the little pieces of fish, as in not big wads. If they're very big, you can chop them up a little bit. So you add them to the pot and you let them cook for about 10 minutes on a simmer. Then you can start to break up the fish with a fork or with a potato masher to kind of loosen it up and make sure it's all cooked through. And then you can add some sour cream or some creme fraiche, and then also lemon zest or orange zest makes it delicious. A little bit more salt. All those things will add flavor at the end, but that's a lovely one-pot meal to do. We'll have all these recipes in the blog post for this episode on our website, familyfoodformoms.com. Just look under podcast and you'll see this episode on emergency food meals. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it inspired you. And remember, you can download the printables for the Family Food Go Bag on familyfoodformoms.com/foodgobag as one word. And that'll help guide you through selecting your meals for an emergency and then having the supplies ready for them. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.